Hello, we are talking to Jolyn Ricks and Ryan Burr. We wanted to get their reaction regarding the Proposition 8 overturning in California. Do you have a comment on that?
We have a lot of comments. I bet. Well, I don't know about Ryan here, but I'm a Californian and a San Franciscan up here in Seattle, and I'm very excited. I wanted to be this week. I wanted to be back home and celebrating in the street with my brothers and sisters in San Francisco. But I settled for being up here.
He's doing something important, though.
Absolutely. Yes, and you are here because your book is finally released, and you did a book reading. Be sure to get this book. It's great.
Yeah, it's XK No Way, My Journey Through the XK Movement.
Wonderful.
And survival.
Now, since you bring that up, in regards to the whole overturning thing and the family council and everything else, and the ex-gay movement itself, do you think this is going to be a positive step?
You mean the overturn? Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's moving us. I think it's moving us in the right direction. I'm always a little concerned that equal marriage, which I think is important to have, that marriage be equally accessible to whoever person, regardless of your gender or sex, I think is an important step. I am a little concerned that I've heard some people say that gay marriage equality is squelching gay sexual liberation, and I'm sure all the people who feel like they need to fit into the mold of monogamy and one person and one person are suddenly up in arms by what I say. But I still think it's important. I think it's a step that needs to happen. But then once we have that equality, we need to notice that, this kind of marriage institution, that only about half the straights really ever fit into it anyway, and that's putting it liberally. And so I think there needs to be, some things looked at about that. I'm never quite sure why we just don't have equality for everyone, regardless of what relationship configuration you're in. But how about you, Ryan?
Well, let's see how sexual liberation suffers or doesn't suffer once, if a national ruling happens to come down in all 50 states. We'll see.
Right.
That's a gamble I'm willing to take on that. Maybe it would be a healthy thing. I don't know.
I think it is an important thing that needs to happen. Then I hope people can also realize that there's more than one relationship model out there than one woman. I mean, because basically, we'll get real controversial. Basically, in some ways, some people are saying, this is what I want. I want one woman and one man monogamously forever. But since I don't like women, I want a man and a man monogamously forever. And I get that, and everyone is entitled to that if they want. But I would hope that they would be following their heart in that too. So get the equality and all that kind of stuff. Oh, I'm going to get so much backlash. No. So yeah.
These are thoughts I've heard before. I hadn't heard that totally articulated as well as you did about the potential for harm to sexual liberation or squelching it. It's food for thought.
There it is. That's all it is.
I did sit in on the trial back in January.
Oh,
really? So I did get to witness some history.
Cool.
I really enjoyed the professors who talked about the history of marriage. I mean, it was basically talking about the evolution of mankind. It was a fascinating trial. I think one of the more poignant things that came up was the need that the defense kept arguing about the need for procreation in relationships. And the judge said, well, in that case, then why don't we have a marriage ban for people who are infertile? And the judge said, are you suggesting do that?
Perfect argument.
He said, I married a couple who was 80 years old a few months ago. Was I supposed to require that they procreate? He was pretty. He had a lot of sense of humor during the trial too. He was He's very comfortable, and he clearly took his time with this ruling. It sounds like the Supreme Court was not happy with him for wanting to televise it. And that's a whole other issue, too. It sounds like, I don't know, some of the critics who thought it should be televised said, look, it's not like these people are in the witness protection program and the mob is asking them that they need this kind of protection. Oh, no. You know, I'll sign a petition, I'll give money, millions of dollars to do this, pass this marriage amendment, but when push comes to shove, I don't want my name published, I don't want to be televised when it's on stamp. And I'm a little disappointed with the Supreme Court.
Especially when it can be such an opportunity to educate, and you know, I mean, there would be whole segments of the population like us that would just love to watch and just be in on it and watch it. But I know that there would also be huge segments of the population that would just be watching like, what the heck is this? And learn something from it.
Yeah. Well, their point was, well, why don't you try educating the public about the legal system with a less controversial case?
And then no one would watch.
But then, yeah, who would watch something about a tax policy being fought over?
Right.
So I was surprised because a lot of legal experts said that they expected him to stay the order, and it's appearing now that he won't. He's saying, whatever legal limbo this creates, oh well, because another day that goes by without me allowing couples to marry, and I guess is, you know, outweighs the other concern.
Yeah.
And I saw that Governor Schwarzenegger sent him the letter.
Yes. And Jerry Brown. Yeah. So that's very exciting.
I think he's supposed to make that decision very the next day or two.
And you know, it sounds like they'll want to keep it going. The other side will want to do everything they can.
In your world, how many great friends you have that are straight? You know, some gay people really keep confined in their gay circles.
Oh,
But I was just curious if you noticed, because I've been randomly polling straight couples lately about, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you care that same-sex couples don't have the right to marry? Now, of course, I might not be the best person because they're going to feel like they need to answer it way, perhaps. There's one couple at dinner next to me, they're like 12. That's how much it bothers me.
Oh,
and I'm assuming they're being honest about that.
A 12 between 1 and 10?
Yeah, meaning a 10 about each, but they pick a 12.
Huh. Well, that's nice.
And, yeah, I feel like that's a pretty genuine comment.
Yeah, I will admit that most of my environment is very gay positive. But you know, I have a certain amount of het friends, and but yeah, you know, it's all within kind of San Francisco and liberal environment, so there's very few that, you know, I know that they would be surprised. Yeah.
And take the issue to heart.
Yeah, and then the people that I interact with, like fundamentalist family and stuff like that, well, I know where they are too. So sometimes we talk about it, most of the time we don't. You know, most of the time it's just little pot shots. You know, when I ended a 12-year relationship, and I had to go through all the rigmarole of doing all the paperwork and fear that I wouldn't get any money out of my investment on the house, even though we had papers and all kind of junk. You know, yeah, very stressful. And I did do a pot shot or two when I'm on the phone with my parents or an aunt and uncle. And I go, just imagine, Mom and Dad, if I was married, I would get half that house, and we wouldn't even have to talk about it. So you remember that when you vote? Of course, I was a little ways back. But it brought home.
You're allowed to get pot shots.
Yeah, exactly.
I get them now.
Well, we've just kind of taken this whole conversation